Sonali, why? Why back to the beginning?
Yeah, really back to the beginning, actually lower than where we were just a week ago. And if you look just earlier this week, we had a moment where Bitcoin surpassed $42,000. Again, that was a little over 3 days ago. And heading into the weekend, while we're still seeing a little bit of a lift, we do see Bitcoin lower on the 24-hour period and over the last 3 days. So what are we looking at here? We had all of this excitement. Where did it all go? And by the way, when you're talking about Bitcoin and you look at Ethereum as well, you see that when the Bitcoin excitement wanes, the other coins have even more of an outflow. So you do see an even bigger drop off in Ethereum itself. The one thing you see stable is the stable coins. I wanted to draw attention to it not only because it's been stable throughout much of this crisis, Emily. There's also news out on stablecoin today. A major hedge fund on Wall Street that is trying to short it and found an artificial way to short it as it faces regulatory scrutiny. You and I have talked about this before with Marty Chavez earlier this week, that stablecoin regulation will be just as important as we think about crypto regulation overall. So a lot of unanswered questions for the industry here. And as you say, back to where we started.
All right, Sonali, thank you. Stay with us. We're going to come back to President Biden's recent executive order now. Our next guest, Tomicah Tillemann, he was the head of global policy at Andreessen Horowitz and is now part of Katie Haun's new, yet to be named, cryptocurrency firm. He's also worked closely with the biggest in politics, Hillary Clinton, President Biden, John Kerry, former President Obama, and worked in collaboration with the World Bank, MIT, and governments around the world. So, Tomicah, you certainly have quite the resume. Really curious for your thoughts on crypto now and how it is being used in geopolitics, the spotlight on cryptocurrency given the war in Ukraine and the concerns about it being used, for illicit activities as well. What does this tell you?
Well, this is certainly a heartbreaking moment, and our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine. I think that for us and for many in the community, our primary concern is how we can help support the Ukrainian people and nation in this moment of need. What we have seen over the last few weeks is a really extraordinary groundswell of support. We've been in close touch with Minister Alex Bornyayev, who is Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation. He and others in the Ukrainian government a few weeks back issued a plea to those around the world with digital assets to support them. They posted digital addresses for digital wallets, and they have received now $100 million in support from individuals all around the planet who, for the first time in history, can give help directly to assist a government that is in crisis in the context of this conflict. What we're seeing is that the Ukrainian government is using those resources to purchase non-lethal equipment like body armor, rations, night vision goggles that are helping to keep their people safe. And it's also proving to be an incredibly important instrument in preserving data. Distributed data networks like Arweave are providing a safe haven for resources and for information that would otherwise come under threat as a result of the Russian invasion. And they're also being used to preserve evidence of war crimes for future prosecution. So certainly the first major conflict in which we've seen Web3 tools play a significant role. And fortunately, they seem to be proving very useful to the Ukrainian people in this moment of crisis.
To that point, there's concern crypto could be useful to the Russian people, that wealthy Russians could use cryptocurrency to circumvent sanctions. This at the same time that President Biden, with this executive order, is telling the U.S. government to do more research here, to figure out, how the U.S. government should approach it. You seem pretty optimistic about this executive order. Why?
Well, the most important thing to listen to, the most important people to listen to as it relates to sanctions evasion are FinCEN, the agency of the U.S. government that is responsible for tracking illicit financial flows. They came out a few days ago and said that they are quite confident that crypto assets and digital assets are not going to be used and are not being used for large-scale sanctions evasion. I've had many long discussions with national security and law enforcement agencies this week. They are extremely comfortable with their ability to track illicit flows and feel that these instruments are not going to play a significant role in Russia's ability to circumvent the sanctions. More broadly, the executive order presents a real watershed moment for the community. This is the first time that we have seen a serious whole of government effort on the part of the United States to launch a comprehensive conversation about what we want the future of the internet to entail. And we think this is excellent news. What we are finding in our discussions with leaders in the administration and in Congress is that those who take the time to really dig in and study the potential of these technologies come away very encouraged by the array of problems that we have the potential to solve. There are
Tomicah,
certainly, please.
I'm really curious about something that you started to mention a little earlier, the ability to get help and purchase non-lethal weapons here. Obviously this fundraising at such a massive scale has really drawn the attention of many communities here, but I'm wondering here about what the dark side could be too, and what would happen if some of this power to fundraise had gotten into the wrong hands.
Well, it certainly is a risk that we need to be very mindful of within the Web3 community. What we're seeing right now is that law enforcement and national security leaders are confident in their ability to manage and track illicit transactions that utilize digital assets. And those who are engaging on behalf of open societies are finding an incredibly valuable and potent new set of tools that can help in responding to this crisis. I remember in 2008, I went in alone with Joe Biden to Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, during the Russian invasion of that country. And as that city was ringed with Russian armor, then Chairman Biden and I started putting together plans for a $1 billion relief package that would assist the Georgian people. And what we recognized very quickly on our way home is that it was going to be very tough to get the assets there quickly in a traceable manner and have confidence that they were going to be used correctly. All of you will You'll remember that during Iraq, we used pallets of $100 bills.
Right.
This is a quantum leap forward in terms of our ability to transparently move assets into complex emergencies and conflicts.
Really quickly here, you mentioned Arweave and the ability to trace war crimes potentially. Is there any evidence that the the ICC is able to actually use it? I mean, is there any evidence that the international community is actually tracing war crimes via blockchain technologies?
Already in advance of the conflict, you saw the Ukrainian government and leaders in Ukraine stockpiling thousands and thousands of sensitive documents on the Arweave platform in order to facilitate future post-conflict rebuilding in the event that the hard copies of those documents would be destroyed. And as we speak, there is documentation of atrocities and war crimes going on utilizing that platform. It's a distributed architecture, which means that it would be virtually impossible for the Russians or other bad actors to eliminate this evidence. And it addresses what has historically been one of the greatest challenges in war crimes prosecution, which is how do you maintain a strong chain of evidence from the time that an atrocity is committed to the time that you're able to bring charges in The Hague.